God will continue to allow your relationships to fail until you stop making romance your priority over your purpose. I know that there are so many people out here who are probably questioning God on why it's taking them so long to find the one. And God is doing this for a reason. He can't allow us to settle for a mediocre relationship when God is calling us to do so much greater. It's not that you aren't attractive and it's not that you aren't worthy of love. He just needs you to remain focused. God knows his children better than we know ourselves, and he knows that if he gives us what we want, we will not be focused. He doesn't need us getting distracted before we fulfill our purpose. The truth is, when you carry a higher calling, God will guard your heart from premature attachments, and I definitely understand why. I know me, whenever I love someone or I get attached to someone, I don't really think about anything else. And this was way worse when I was younger. So just imagine when you fall in love and you think you met the one, you're not going to be focused on anything else. You're just going to be focused on being in love and getting married and everything that comes with love. So he can't allow that to happen if you haven't fulfilled your purpose. If you think about it, when you're called for more, God will put you through a different kind of training that not many people will go through. So that means that if you settle for people who aren't on the same path as you guys are going to be on a different level when God is done working on you. So that at the end of the day was never meant to be the person you were supposed to be with forever. Yes, I know it's frustrating when you see everybody that you grew up with, friends, classmates, everybody is moving on, everyone's getting married, and you're just wondering what is wrong with you. But nothing is wrong with you. You actually have a calling, and that's greater than anything that you could see in front of you. I know you see the things that you want happening for other people, but just know that behind closed doors, God is working on something so much greater. And it's not like none of your relationships work, but it's almost like every single time they just break down out of nowhere for no reason. Maybe there are reasons, maybe not. But God will not allow you to settle for someone who's not on the same path as you. He can't allow you to build a future with someone who's not headed in the same direction. You're in your season of preparation, and God loves you way too much to allow you to marry someone in your season of preparation because you're not ready yet. And 9 times out of 10, if you do meet someone, they're probably going to stay stuck stagnant and not want to grow. Or when they see you growing, they're going to be envious or jealous of you. God will not allow that. Trust me, I know it's way easier said than done, especially once you hit a certain age where you feel like you should have been married, or people are expecting you to be married, or you're just wondering where is the person. But I feel like once you start working on what your calling is or you're starting to fulfill your purpose, I think that's the last thing that's going to be on your mind. And yes, it will cross your mind, but you're going to be so focused on fulfilling what God has actually called you to do that you're not even going to really think about it as much. Or when you do think about it, it won't bother you as much because you know that there is a purpose. God has called you and put you on this earth to fulfill a purpose. And when you're actually in it, you get lost. You're all you're thinking about is what God is calling you to do. That's your main focus. That's what you wake up with on your mind. And I feel like that is the best place to be in life when you're actually doing what God has called you to do. You find this love and passion for something that is greater than you. You want to do something more than you. And this is not me being judgmental, but I feel like the only people who struggle with this the most are people who aren't working on themselves behind closed doors or while they're waiting. In your preparation season, you should be preparing yourself, not just for marriage, but for more, for other things that God has called you to be. You're not just created to be a husband or a wife. God has called you to do so much more. So when you find all these other things and all these gifts and talents that God has called you or given you to use and to spread to other people, then you will not be so focused on just one area of your life. God is going to do it. You're not cursed. I promise. It's going to happen. But what about the other things that God wants you to do? You can't just focus on one and leave everything else, undone and not fulfilled. I feel like a lot of people also just wait around like, oh my gosh, why me? God, when is it going to happen? All my friends are doing this. A, B, and C has happened for them, but not me. And you're not working on your mind. You're not working on your mental health. You're not working on your communication skills. So you're just going to walk into marriage an incomplete person, and you're expecting your partner to fulfill all those things that you're lacking in yourself. How do you expect God to give you the man of your dreams or the woman of your dreams and you are not the woman of your dreams? You're not somebody that you would be happy with. So make sure that that is what you're doing first while God is also using you for other things. Don't just be focused on one thing and not developing yourself, because you're going to be so frustrated when you get in marriage and you figure out it's not what you want it to be. But most of the time, it's because you didn't put in the work in yourself. So when you develop yourself, you'll change what you even want in a person. You're not even going to look at the same types of people when you work on yourself. So please hear me when I say this. It's not a curse, it's protection and alignment. He needs you to be where you need to be. And when you get to where you're going, that is probably where you're going to meet the person. So if you haven't fulfilled your purpose, why are you complaining? You're never going to meet them. They were never going to be there. Your person is called for greater just like you. And 9 times out of 10, you will never meet that person until you have fulfilled your purpose. So instead of asking God, when is the person going to come? Ask God, what have you called me to do? When you fulfill your purpose, you will be in the places where you need to be to meet that person. Or maybe in some cases, you're the one who's ready, but your partner still has some preparation and development to do. So maybe it is just you needing to wait patiently and continue fulfilling your purpose that God has called you to fulfill while He's still developing your person, because He can't do that. It's going to be unfair that you've done all this work while your partner hasn't done the work that they need to do. You can't meet yet because it's going to be unfair to you, and it's going to damage them because they haven't developed as much as they need to develop. So there are so many reasons why you haven't met the person yet. God does not hate you. You're not cursed. He loves you just as much as, He loves anyone else that is married. He doesn't want to just see you unhappy and you unmarried while everybody else is living the life you want. It will come, but make sure you're doing everything else that He's called you to do. That book He wants you to write, that business He wants you to open, that store He wants you to create, that website. There are so many things that God has put on your heart. There's so many talents that God has given you that you're not using. You're just sitting on your hands doing nothing, but you're wondering why God hasn't given you certain things, A, B, or C, but you're not doing or fulfilling the purpose that He has called you to fulfill. So start looking within. What are some things that God has put on your heart to do that you just keep putting off? Maybe that is the thing that you need to do first, and it will open the doors for you to be even in the environment or the community of the person you're going to meet or marry. So think about things like that and stop thinking that God hates you and He's singling you out or you're cursed. It's none of that. Focus on what He has called you to do. Get closer to God, build a relationship, and He will let you know what you're lacking. I know many of us have heard the saying, comparison is the thief of joy, and it is so true. If you're constantly looking at what other people have compared to what you have, you're never going to be happy. You're always going to be looking at other people, and 9 times out of 10, the people you're looking at aren't always as happy as it seems. I'm not saying that everybody's just miserable and not living real lives, but most people aren't as happy as they make it look on social media or whatever you're looking at. They always want to show the best side of themselves. So that's what you're always going to see. But behind closed doors, you never know what's going on. And I'm not wishing this on anyone, but if you see somebody getting married like maybe 2 years before you thought you would get married, or they're getting married and you're not, whatever, you never know what may happen 10 years down the line. You never know what they're going through. You never know if they're truly happy and if this is what God has called them to do. Is this the person that God has called them to be married to? So that's why so many people get married and then 2 years later they're divorced, because that was not the person God called them to marry, but because they're trying to keep up with everyone else and be the one who's married and whatever, fulfill what everybody else wants for them, they're rushing into things and then it breaks down later. I'm not saying this is the case for everyone. Yes, there are so many happy marriages where people are married, happy for years, nothing bad happens. But that's not always the case. Especially nowadays, people are just trying to look the part when they didn't do the work to even deserve the part. So focus on your mission first, and God will align the right person to walk alongside you when you're actually ready. But remember to always stay blessed, stay encouraged, and like and subscribe for more videos like this.